What's going on YouTube? I just wanted to make a quick video on my strategy and how I've been farming up all my currency. There's a lot of different ways to make it this league. A lot of people are farming scarabs and stuff like that. I personally do not love farming scarabs. It's very lucrative. You make a lot of money. It doesn't seem fun to me. I don't know. It's not super enjoyable. And then you have to go in and sell all these or convert them or do whatever. And it feels like a hassle to me. And I don't love doing it. So I tried to find an alternative strategy to make good currency. And that's exactly what we did. We just straight farm regular currency, and I started doing this, 2 days ago or so, at 2.5 days, something like that. We've dropped 2 Hinakora's locks. We've dropped a bunch of Voidborn Reliquary Keys. We actually got our headhunter. We double corrupted it, but we actually got this from one of the Voidborns we dropped. We've been dropping valdos, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the stuff I prefer to farm. I think it's more fun than farming scarabs. It's just, I don't know. I'd rather just go buy the scarabs that I want and then not really have to deal with them. And with that being said, you do still drop a fair amount of scarabs. I've dropped quite a few good ones just while I've been doing this, because oftentimes scarabs will be rolled onto the map anyways. But we're actually looking for the currency roll, okay? So we'll go over the 3 maps. There's basically 3 different versions of maps that are acceptable to run, and I'll go over those. And personally, I've been running Fortress and Abomination. The reason being is the bosses are a little bit easier, and they drop which one of them, and I can't recall which one it is right now. I want to say it's Abomination. Drops the reality fragments, and these go for almost 2 divines. So that's an easier boss than some of the other ones, like Sanctuary boss and stuff like that's pretty rough. And with that being said, Abomination also drops the doctor div card natively, nurse, patient, all that kind of stuff. So you'll squeeze in some nice div cards in there every once in a while. We're not forcing them, but they do. It's nice when they pop up, and maybe you get a divine or 2 out of them. But so let's get into the maps. Like I said, there's 3 different versions as you're rolling your maps that you can use. The first one is just an exceptionally high 200 plus more currency roll. This one has 266. The rolls, again, we still have to look at it and make sure it doesn't have some of the crazy ones like Union of Souls or negative resistances, reflect, things like that, right? So we're still required to do that. And these ones don't. The runnable ones above 200 pop up a little bit less than the other 2 options, just because to get that really high currency, I think, has the most brutal explicits tied to it. So it seems like it's harder to get really, really high 200 plus without having some unrunnable banned mods, right? So this is the first version, just 200 plus and runnable. Doesn't necessarily need anything specifically in the explicits. It just needs to you need to be able to complete the map, right? The second version is 100 plus currency, but then it has that bottom line there, additional clusters of highly volatile barrels. So this is another one. This one's probably my favorite, honestly, just because it's probably the easiest of the bunch, and it still yields nice currency. Again, we're dropping anywhere between 1 and 3 raw divines a map. It averages out. You will have a map here and there where you don't drop any, but then the next map you might drop 2 or 3 or something like that. So it averages out to about, I would say, 1 to 2 raw divines per map, and then you have your scarabs and your chaos and whatever else you're wanting to pick up to go along with it. So it's pretty easy to sustain the costs of the maps and the scarabs and all that with just the raw divine drops, and then everything else is kind of just gravy after that. And then even with the raw divines, you're still making profit. And like I said, you still have all the other things, right? So the last option is, again, 100 plus currency roll, but this one has that first mod, increase rare monsters, and rare monsters have 2 additional modifiers. These ones do get a little bit tougher. Arguably, if you have a good currency roll, this feels like the best one to roll. But it gets more difficult if you have hard mods that are kind of tied into it, right? Volatile barrels allows for you to maybe have one or two tough mods in there, and you're still going to be okay. With additional rares, two additional modifiers, it gets a little bit more difficult to add the banned mods, right? So those are the three different versions of maps that we roll for this, all of which are acceptable and all yield fairly high. I will say the highest yielding is probably the super high rolls. I had one that was like a 300 plus, and I think we dropped like 3 raw divines, we dropped a hinakoras, like it was bonkers, right? So, but the 300 plus very rarely will show up and be runnable unless you have some crazy build. And again, with that being said, I'm sure everyone's going to ask, is this magic find? Does it have to be magic find? I have some magic find in here. Not much. It's not your traditional. Like, I don't have greeds. I don't have 2 ventors or a kalandra or mirror, whatever the mirrored ring is. I have no rarity on my helmet. I have no, really, I just have the 3 items of magic find, which is the boots, the amulet, which is subpar anyways, and then the ventors, which, as you can see, has very little rarity on it, has just a good quantity roll. So I think the difference would be that if you're not on a magic find, chances are you have better survivability and you just have a better overall character. So that will make up for the fact that you don't have any magic find, because I do brick maps on occasion where, like, I go in there and I just simply can't kill the rares or whatever the case is, and so it does happen to me. So I think that it'll balance if you're not magic find, in the sense that you'll be able to complete more maps, you'll waste less currency, et cetera, et cetera. So will you drop as many things per map? Probably not. But will you brick less? Absolutely. And, you will be able to run arguably harder maps. You won't have to sit there and waste as many chaos rolling maps, et cetera. So I think with this particular strategy and this league, it will balance out with the T17s and be pretty close whether you have magic find or you don't in your build. So next we'll get into the Scarabs, and then I also have a couple alternative Scarabs for if maybe you don't have the power to run it or whatever the case is. So the one we're running for this is Horn Scarab of Glittering, and these are fairly expensive. These I worked into the strategy a little bit later. I was running some other things. It was probably barrels up until that point. And barrels, I'm a barrel enjoyer, so, and I have been even when it was a sextant. So take it as you want. Barrel's good. But anyways, so Horn Scarab of Glittering just adds quantity and rarity. This will be exceptionally good if you don't have any magic find, because you'll be able to get 100 quant, 200 rarity with just using the Scarab. It is a little pricey. So, you get 2 divines for 7 of them. So they're, a quarter of divine, something like that, third of a divine, so, somewhere around there. The next one, additional packs of rare monsters. We just want more rare monsters. Next, we have 100 Traitors. This adds a lot of pack size and stuff like that to the map. It's really nice. And then lastly, we have the Horn Scarab of Nemeses. These aren't super expensive. As you can see, they're about a chaos a piece. So these 3 are pretty cheap. The Glittering is a little bit pricey, but it does make a difference for this strategy. But again, like I said, before I was running Glittering, I was running barrels, so it would have been these 4 right here. And before I was able to do this, I swapped out Traitors for additional, or chance for your portals to not be consumed when I was dying a lot and stuff like that. And I couldn't afford to brick maps, and I needed to finish them. This is where I started with these 4. And again, these are very cheap. So, running these is very inexpensive. They're about a chaos a piece, so that's nothing. It gets a little bit pricier when you kind of do this strategy here, again, simply because of the Glittering, but this is really nice. Again, especially if you don't have any magic find on your build, it'll make a big difference. So this is a nice Scarab. This is one of my favorites now at this point. And that's it. So those are the maps that we roll. So it's about, you'd say a divine and a half per map to run, just because you gotta roll it with chaos and all that kind of stuff, and there's just chaos or barely 100 for a divine now, so it catches up to the divines pretty quick. You use 30-40 chaos to roll a map. That's it's half a divine almost, so it adds up pretty quick. So you're looking about at a divine and a half to get into each map, which is not crazy really. Or you know what, it might be a little bit more than that. Yeah, divine and a half to 2 divines, something like that, depending on how you're rolling your maps and stuff like that. But I'd say it probably isn't over 2 divines a map. So not cheap, but not expensive either in the full spectrum of people's strategies this league. So those are the rolls, those are the maps and the scarabs. As far as our tree, we run again back to the basics. Everybody's running this, you know. We're focused heavily on scarabs and map mod or explicit modifier effect. We take some of these down here just because it stops certain scarabs from dropping, and again, there are some really nice ones and there are some really bad ones that are just they're worth less than a chaos. So it's if you know it's at some point it is worth picking them all up early on, but once you have enough currency and you have a bit of a bankroll, it doesn't feel as worth it. I also like to farm coffins. You know, we drop a lot of these additional items, and these sell for 260 chaos, so 2.5 divines or so. So, and I do a lot of my own crafts, as you can see. You know, I stock up on my own um, coffins so that I can just do my own crafts. I have been enjoying it, so I just stock them up and then just go buy the couple that I need. So I am spec'd into the haunted stuff. We're down here, here, and here, just so that we have a better chance of dropping tier rating and meta mod. So this is like your additional items and your fractures and all that kind of stuff, or your rows and your increased effect of beast corpses in the area, all those kind of important ones. And then you just need so many of the tier rating, the plus 50 tier ratings, that I just leave this on because generally for a big craft you're using anywhere from 10 to 15 per craft, so it's easy to stockpile and get all the kind of basic ones that you need to do your crafts. If you don't have any interest in doing the craft, or you don't want coffins, you don't want to farm them, deal with it, all that, you can unspec out of these and then spec into start taking more scarab stuff or whatever works for you. Again, we're back to the basics, so you are somewhat limited on what you can take in here, but you could come down and just start grabbing all these scarabs, or you can come in here if you're doing what are they, the rogue exiles. This is really good for rogue exiles. So yeah, so this is the tree. Nothing crazy here. It's all quant, rarity, map effect, scarab drops, explicit modifiers, all that kind of stuff. So this is how we really juice our map. And I'll go ahead and put in the description the Atlas passive, so you guys can just grab that and go do it. And that's it. So again, we've been making good currency. I sold one of the Hinokora's locks because we were doing a craft, so we sold those. Hinokoras are going for 44, 45 divines, so that's a nice drop. We dropped 2 of them in, like I said, 2.5 days, plus probably 8 to 10 Reliquary Key, Voidborn Reliquary Keys. Again, that's where we got our headhunter. And then again the Valdo's puzzle box. We've dropped some of those, and we've sold some of the maps. We've kept a couple. We don't really. You can sell them. They go for like 4 or 5 divines, but generally I don't. I do not sell them. I like to keep them, and we have a couple whack ones in here that won't sell. So they're just part of the collection now at this point. But that's it, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. I've been trying to stream daily, Monday through Friday. I've been working and stuff too, so I do my best. I didn't get a chance to stream today, but hopefully we'll be on tomorrow. Please like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff if this was helpful. If again, if you're over farming scarabs, which hopefully that's not a thing for too much longer. Next league, hopefully the one of the bigger strats is not farming scarabs, because to me it's not fun having to deal with that. So that's it. Appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe again, all that kind of stuff, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.